Imagine a lady finally realizing her dream of taking her first plane flight, having no idea that one of the flight attendants is her daughter, lost more than 20 years ago. Odessa is sitting in the departure lounge, her hands shaking tightly holding her plane ticket. Her heart beats fast, it's her first time flying, and anxiety envelopes her like a heavy blanket. She takes a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves as she looks around, taking in the other people who, unlike her, seem accustomed to the process. She never had the chance before as life was full of challenges. Since she lost her young daughter, Celeste, more than 30 years ago, life has never been the same. Celeste disappeared in a park, on an ordinary day, in a moment of distraction. The search was incessant, but as time passed, hopes faded. Still, Odessa never gave up completely. In her heart, she kept Celeste's memory, her sweet smile, and believed that, somehow, her daughter was alive, somewhere. She closes her eyes for a moment, and the memory of her lost daughter, more than 30 years ago, comes back to mind. The park, the laughter, and then emptiness. Odessa never got over this loss, but she also never gave up hope of finding her daughter again. Each day, each face in the crowd brings a spark of hope. This hope, although small, is what keeps her alive. Now, she is on her way to visit her brother and nephews, whom she hasn't seen in many years. Years have passed since she last saw them, and longing has grown like a silent shadow in her heart. The shared laughter, the tight hugs and the moments of family complicity are stored in her memory, waiting to be relived. She wonders how her nephews, who have grown so much since she last saw them, are doing. Do they still remember her fondly? Has distance and time not diminished the love between them? Suddenly, the ringing of her cell phone takes her out of her thoughts. Odessa looks at the screen and sees her brother's name, Sterling. Her heart warms a little. She answers the call and hears the familiar, excited voice on the other end. "How are you, my brave sister?" Sterling asks with a laugh. "Are you already aboard that scary metal bird?" She laughs, even though the anxiety is still there, lurking. Not yet, I'm in the departure lounge, trying not to freak out." You'll make it, I know you will. Remember that time you faced that giant spider in the basement? If you can handle it, a little plane is nothing." Odessa laughs once again, remembering how Sterling always knew how to make her laugh, even in the hardest moments. "You're right. That spider was a monster." "Exactly. And think about the nephews, they're so excited to see you. They're even planning a welcome party with balloons and everything. I imagine you'll need to act surprised." The idea of a welcome party warms Odessa's heart. They're so sweet. I can't wait to see them. It's going to be wonderful, I promise. And as for the flight, it's like riding a bike, only in the sky. And without pedaling. And, of course, with a little more turbulence, but who cares, right? Sterling laughs, trying to ease the tension he knows she's feeling. Odessa smiles, feeling a wave of relief. Thank you, Sterling. I needed this talk. Sometimes it all feels so overwhelming. I know, Odessa. But you are strong. Stronger than you know. And if you feel scared, remember that I am here, waiting for you, with my arms open and ready to protect you from any giant spider that appears. She closes her eyes, letting Sterling's words wrap around her like a hug. You always know what to say. I love you, brother. I love you too, Odessa. Now go out there and show that plane who's boss. When the call ends, Odessa feels a little lighter. Sterling has always had a gift for making the world seem less scary, for bringing light even in the darkest nights. She takes another deep breath, this time feeling renewed confidence. The boarding announcement blares over the speakers, and Odessa stands up, grabbing her small carry-on suitcase. With Sterling's voice echoing in her mind, she heads towards the boarding gate. Each step is firmer, more determined. The image of her brother's smile and her nephew's laughter fills her with strength. Now as she boards the plane, Odessa feels a mix of emotions. She sits in her seat and observes every detail around her, marveling at everything. When the flight attendants begin to file through the rows, she sits more comfortably, trying to absorb every moment of this long-awaited experience. Among the commissioners is a young woman with a gentle appearance and bright eyes. Her name is Celeste, and she has worked for this airline for a few years. Celeste feels an inexplicable connection with her older passengers, always going the extra mile to ensure they have the best experience possible. As she approached Odessa, a shiver ran down her spine. Something in the lady's eyes touches her in a deep and inexplicable way. She smiles and asks if everything is okay, delicately adjusting Odessa's seatbelt, who responds with an emotional look and a sincere thank you. Odessa, in turn, feels a warmth in her chest. There's something familiar about that smile, that soft voice. She closes her eyes for a moment, allowing herself to feel every detail of this interaction, as if something deep inside wants to tell her something. The roar of the engines announces that it is time to take off. Odessa closes her eyes tightly, her hands tight on the seat supports. As the plane begins to pick up speed on the runway, she feels as if her heart is going to jump out of her mouth. The feeling of being pushed back as the plane takes off leaves her breathless. Slowly, she opens her eyes and looks out the window, seeing the earth getting smaller and smaller. The view is breathtaking, and for a moment, fear of it dissolves in the beauty of the horizon. Odessa feels a mix of emotions. She sits in her seat and observes every detail around her, marveling at everything. When the flight attendants begin to file through the rows, she sits more comfortably, trying to absorb every moment of this long-awaited experience. As the plane takes off, Odessa holds tightly to the arms of the seat, but a feeling of euphoria and freedom begins to take over her. Looking out the window, she sees the world getting smaller, the houses looking like toys, the streets like thin lines of a drawing. Silent tears ran down her face, tears of realization and longing. Each passing cloud seems to caress memories of her, bringing to light the image of Celeste, her little Celeste. Each cloud seems to float leisurely, and she imagines herself as light as one of them, drifting away from her worries. During the flight, Odessa tries to distract herself with a book she brought in her bag. The words dance on the page, and she struggles to focus. Her thoughts continue to return to the reunion that awaits her. She imagines her brother's warm embrace, the feeling of his arms around her, holding her tight. Think about her nephew's laughter, how they will run to her, shouting her name. Every thought brings tears to her eyes, a mixture of longing, hope and love. Her thoughts are on her family, on the anxiety of the reunion, when suddenly, turbulence shakes the plane. Odessa's heart races, and she grips the arms of the seat, feeling panic begin to set in. The turbulence is unexpected and intense, and Odessa feels as if she is losing control. Fear consumes her, and she struggles to maintain her composure. His body tense, his eyes wide searching for some sign of safety. It is then that Celeste, the flight attendant, the same one who had been so kind and comforting before, approaches her. Her eyes express genuine concern as she crouches down beside Odessa. "It's okay, honey. I know it might seem scary, but we're safe in here. Have you ever heard that song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow?" Odessa shakes her head, trying to focus on the flight attendant's calm voice amid the noise of the turbulence. The flight attendant begins to sing softly, a familiar melody that Odessa has known since childhood. Her voice is soft and comforting, like a hug in the midst of a storm. Odessa closes her eyes, letting the music envelop her, pushing away the fear that was overwhelming her. The song brings back memories of simpler, safer times, memories of his childhood and happy times with his family. With each note, Odessa's fear begins to subside, replaced by a sense of calm and tranquility. Odessa hears the flight attendant singing "Ye Somewhere Over the Rainbow," and a wave of emotion washes over her. It's the same song she used to sing to her lost daughter so many years ago. Her heart tightens at the painful memory, but at the same time, a sense of comfort envelopes her. That song was a bond between her and her daughter, a constant reminder of the love they shared. With teary eyes, Odessa turns to the flight attendant. This song. Where did you learn it? Celeste reveals that she always dreamed of a red-haired woman who sang this song to her. The flight attendant's revelation leaves Odessa stunned. A red-haired woman, singing the same song Odessa used to sing to her lost daughter? It's a strange coincidence, and Odessa finds herself drawn even deeper into the flight attendant's story. A red-haired woman? Odessa repeats, her voice sounding a little shaky. It's interesting. Celeste smiles, a sparkle in her eyes that seems to reveal a mixture of curiosity and fascination. Yes, I always thought it was strange. This woman has appeared in my dreams since I was a child. She sings this song to me and tells me to never give up on my dreams. Celeste's words resonate in Odessa's mind. A red-haired woman, a song of hope. Could it be possible that this woman of Celeste's dreams was somehow connected to her own story? Could it just be a coincidence, or is there something more going on here? Odessa feels a wave of emotion wash over her, a whirlwind of feelings that she can barely control. Her heart beats faster as Celeste's words echo in her mind. She always dreamed of a red-haired woman who sang the same song. Is it possible? Odessa looks deeply into Celeste's eyes, looking for some sign, some clue that confirms what her heart already knows. Celeste, she begins, her voice shaking. You said you always dreamed of a red-haired woman singing this song. How old are you now? Celeste seems surprised by the question, but answers calmly. I'm 25 years old. Celeste's age matches the chronology that Odessa kept in her painful memory. A wave of hope and fear invades her. Odessa almost faints. Celeste, she says, her voice almost breaking, there's something you need to know. 20 years ago, I lost my daughter in a park. She was 5 years old and her name was Celeste. The look of surprise and emotion in the flight attendant's eyes is unmistakable. Celeste brings her hand to her mouth, her eyes filling with tears. It can't be. Are you saying I'm your daughter? Odessa feels tears flowing freely down her face. She tentatively reaches out her hand, touching Celeste's arm. I have no doubt. You are my daughter. I always hoped to find you, and now, here we are. Celeste feels a mix of shock and joy flooding her heart. She looks at Odessa, studying every feature of her face, searching for the connection she's always missed. I always felt like something was missing in my life. Always dreaming about that red-haired woman and the song. And now, here you are. Odessa leans in closer, holding Celeste's hands firmly. I never lost hope, Celeste. I never stopped looking for you. And now, it seems that fate has brought us together again. The flight attendant feels a sense of completeness, something she has never experienced before. I don't even know what to say. This is a miracle. Odessa smiles through her tears, feeling a peace and joy that she hasn't experienced in a long time. It's a miracle, yes. And I'm so happy to finally be able to hold her again, to know that she's safe and well. Celeste hugs Odessa, and they stay like that, hugged, for a long moment. It's as if time has stopped, allowing them to make up for lost years. The other passengers on the plane look on, some curiously, others tenderly, but Odessa and Celeste are in their own world. As they hug, Odessa feels indescribable relief. All the fear, all the pain of the last 20 years seems to dissolve. And although I know there are many questions and many feelings to process, at that moment all that matters is that they found each other. Odessa moves away a little, still holding Celeste's hands. We have a lot to talk about, but right now, I just want to enjoy this moment. I just want to stay here with you. Celeste agrees, still a little dazed, but with a genuine smile on her face. Me too, Mom. Me too. Odessa is enveloped in a storm of emotions, Celeste's every word resonating deep within her. The moment is so surreal that she almost can't believe what's happening, but the need to confirm the truth is irresistible. She takes a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. Celeste, she begins, voice shaking, 20 years ago, I was in a park with you. We were celebrating your birthday with a picnic. I turned around for a moment, and when I looked back, you were gone. Celeste looks perplexed, her gaze fixed on Odessa as the words sink deep into her mind. My 5th birthday. She murmurs, as if trying to remember something distant, something almost forgotten. Odessa continues, her tears flowing freely now. You were wearing a blue dress with little white flowers. I had made a chocolate cake, your favorite. You had a new toy, a teddy bear that you held so dearly. We were singing Happy Birthday, when you walked away by take a moment to look at a group of colorful balloons. Celeste feels a pang in her heart, a memory that seemed buried under layers of years begins to emerge. She closes her eyes, trying to concentrate. I remember that, she says, her voice whispery. I remember the balloons. And the teddy bear. But everything after that is a blur. Odessa holds Celeste's hands tightly, as if she's afraid she might disappear again. I looked everywhere for you. We called the police. We looked for days, weeks. I never stopped looking. Celeste opens her eyes, and a lone tear runs down her face. I was taken in by a couple. They said I was their daughter, but I knew deep down something was wrong. I grew up with them, but I always felt like a part of me was missing. They never talked about that day in the park. Odessa feels a mix of pain and relief. Celeste, I am your mother. I never gave up on you. I always hoped and prayed that this day would come. Celeste looks deeply into Odessa's eyes, searching for the truth in the eyes she now recognizes as hers. Mommy. She says, the word coming out slowly, as if experiencing its taste for the first time in many years. Confirmation brings a wave of emotions, vague memories that begin to take shape and clarity. She remembers warm hands holding hers, a soft voice singing lullabies. She remembers the feeling of safety, of a love she could never find anywhere else. Mommy, as she repeats, more forcefully, tears streaming down her face. Odessa pulls Celeste into a tight hug, the two women crying together. The hug is filled with years of pain, longing, and, finally, relief. It's as if all the wasted time has dissipated into a single moment of recognition and love. Celeste whispers, still in Odessa's arms. I can't believe it. I've dreamed of you my whole life. That red-haired woman, it was you. Odessa strokes Celeste's hair, feeling a peace she hasn't felt in 2 decades. Yes, darling. It was always me. And you were always mine. The surrounding passengers watch in silence, some with tears in their eyes, touched by the moving scene. The flight attendant who was once just a caring professional now becomes a reunited daughter, a miracle that no one on board could have predicted. The moment is electrifying. Odessa's revelation leaves Celeste speechless, as if the world around her has stopped. The reality of this revelation begins to solidify, and in seconds that feel like hours, memories of a 5-year anniversary at the park begin to flood Celeste's mind. She can hardly believe what is happening. Her eyes fill with tears, reflecting the whirlwind of emotions that invade her. The other passengers and crew, who initially watched with curiosity, are now overcome by the emotion of the scene. Many wipe away discreet tears, while others whisper words of encouragement and support. The plane, which was previously full of strangers, now turns into a community of witnesses to a miracle. Celeste holds Odessa with a strength she didn't even know she had. I always knew something was missing, she says between sobs. I always dreamed of you, the red-haired woman who sang to me. Now I understand why that song was always so special. Odessa strokes Celeste's hair, feeling the weight of the years of separation dissipate with each tear shed. I dreamed of you too, Celeste. I never lost hope of finding you. Every day, every year, I believed this moment would come. The pilot, who had been discreetly informed of the situation by one of the flight attendants, makes a soft announcement over the public address system. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special reunion happening on board today. Let's all give our support and respect to these two brave souls who have finally met after so many years. Congratulations, Odessa and Celeste. The plane erupts into spontaneous applause, a gesture of solidarity and celebration that echoes through the corridors. Odessa and Celeste, still hugging each other, feel the warmth and support of strangers who now share their joy. After a few minutes, their faces still wet with tears, they move away a little, but continue holding each other's hands. We have so much to talk about, so much to catch up on, Celeste says, her eyes still shining with emotion. Odessa agrees, feeling a rush of happiness and gratitude. Yes, my dear. And now, we have all the time in the world for this. The most important thing is that we are together again. A flight attendant approaches, offering tissues, a small but empathetic gesture. I don't know what to say other than I'm so happy for you guys. It's a miracle. Celeste and Odessa smile at her, still overcome with emotion. Thank you, says Odessa. And thank you everyone for your understanding and support. This is the happiest moment of my life. As the plane continues its trajectory through the skies, Odessa and Celeste feel a new inner peace, a certainty that, no matter what the future brings, they will face everything together. The joy of reunion and the promise of new beginnings fill their hearts, and the plane, which was once just a means of transportation, now becomes a symbol of renewal and hope. The two spend the rest of the flight talking, sharing stories and memories. Every word, every laugh, every tear brings them closer together, healing old wounds and creating new memories. Odessa feels a new hope blossoming within her, a feeling that finally, after so many years of pain and uncertainty, she has found her way back home. The announcement that they are approaching their destination makes your heart beat faster. Anxiety gives way to intense and almost overwhelming emotion. When the plane finally touches down, Odessa feels a mixture of relief and excitement. They get off the plane hand in hand, feeling a mixture of nervousness and joy. The airport is crowded, but to them, it feels like the entire world is in slow motion, each step bringing them closer to being reunited with Sterling, Odessa's brother, and her children. She still can't believe everything that happened on that flight. As she passes through the arrival gate, she looks around, searching for familiar faces in the crowd. And then she sees them, her brother, with his arms open and a wide smile, and her nephews, jumping with joy. Odessa, with an emotional smile, runs into her brother's arms. Sterling, this is Celeste, she says, her voice shaking with emotion. She's my Celeste. Sterling is speechless, eyes wide with shock. He looks at Celeste, studying every detail of her face. Memories of the past mix with the reality of the present, and he sees the family traits of his sister and niece lost in time. Heavenly. Sterling says, his voice is barely a whisper. Is it really you? Celeste smiles, her eyes full of tears. Yes, it's me. My mother finally found me. Sterling steps forward and wraps Celeste in a tight hug. He feels tears streaming down her face, but he doesn't care. We've been looking for you for so long. We never gave up hope. I can barely believe you're here, alive and well. Emily and Noah, a little shy, watch the scene with wide eyes. They've heard stories about their lost cousin their whole lives, but seeing Celeste there, in the flesh, is surreal. Emily steps forward, her eyes shining with curiosity and excitement. Hi, Celeste, Emily says, her voice shaking slightly. I'm Emily, your cousin. And this is my brother, Noah. Celeste smiles through her tears, feeling an instant connection with her cousins. Odessa watches the scene with tears of joy in her eyes, feeling a peace she hasn't experienced in a long time. We're all together again, as she says, her voice thick with emotion. Finally, after so many years. Sterling holds Celeste by the shoulders, looking at her with a mixture of pride and tenderness. You must have so many stories to tell, so many things you've been through. But now, you're home. We're here for you. Celeste feels warmth envelop her heart. She looks at each of them, feeling a deep connection and unconditional love. I have a lot of stories, yes. But right now, I just want to enjoy this moment. I'm so happy to be with you. The family embraces again, a circle of love and reconnection. Passengers passing by look curiously, some with friendly smiles, others discreetly wiping away tears of emotion. For Odessa, Sterling, Emily, Noah and especially Celeste, this is a moment that redefines their lives. As they leave the airport, Celeste feels the support and love of her family, something she always dreamed of but was never sure she would find. Odessa, in turn, feels that her life is finally complete, the void of 2 decades filled by the presence of her daughter. If you liked this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos, and tell me in the comments if you would have recognized your son more than 20 years later, if you saw him again. Stay now with another exciting story.